Hey, beautiful soul. Oh, welcome to Soulful Saturdays with Saylor. Around here, we cut through the noise, ditch the fluff, and dive straight into what matters: spiritual wellness, radical self acceptance, and unapologetic soulful living. Each week, I'll bring you truth with a side of sass, reflections that wake you up, and reminders that you are glorious. So, whether you've got your journal, your coffee, or that wild, messy bun, you are exactly where you need to be. This month is going to be Nourish. Nourish is the whisper of the month. Nourish, 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 nourish. Not hustle, not push, not prove, not perform. Nourish. And today, I want to talk to you about something that may completely change how you see yourself. Because what if you're not burned out? What if you're not broken? What if you're not lazy? What if you're not losing your spark? What if you're simply underfed? Not physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, soulfully. Because there's a difference between being empty and being undernourished. And my friend, a lot of us have been trying to survive on crumbs. I hear women say things all the time like, I'm exhausted. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just don't feel like myself anymore. I have nothing left to give. And every time I hear those words, I want to gently ask, what have you been feeding yourself lately? Now, I'm not talking about what's on your dinner plate. I'm talking about what's feeding your heart, what's feeding your joy, what's feeding your spirit. Because here's the truth, and this is something we don't talk enough about. You cannot keep pouring from an empty cup, but you also can't pour from a cup that's filled with things that don't actually nourish you. Many of us are consuming endless news, endless worry, endless comparison, endless obligations, endless expectations. We're snacking on stress all day long, wondering why we're emotionally bloated. Now, can I have an amen for that? We wake up and check our phones before we check in with ourselves. We scroll through everybody else's highlight reel before we even had our first cup of coffee. We spend our days taking care of everyone else's needs, solving everyone else's problems, carrying everyone else's emotions, and at the end of the day, we collapse on the couch, wondering why we feel depleted. Dear friend, if all you've been eating is emotional stress and responsibility, no wonder you're hungry. No wonder you're tired. No wonder your spark feels a little dim. Here's the reality check. Your soul gets hungry too. Your heart needs nourishment. Your spirit needs nourishment. Your dreams need nourishment. Your joy needs nourishment. And unlike your stomach, your soul doesn't growl when it's hungry. It whispers. It whispers through your exhaustion. It whispers through your irritability. It whispers through that feeling that something is missing, even when everything looks fine on the outside. And because we're busy, we miss the whisper. So we don't want, so we do what we've always done. We work harder. We push harder. We give more. We try to earn our way back to feeling alive. But here's a little sassy truth for you. Your friend Cindy here is going to remind you today that you cannot starve yourself emotionally and and expect to feel spiritually satisfied. Mm-mm. That's like watering the leaves of a plant while ignoring the roots. Sooner or later, the whole thing starts to droop. So maybe you're not broken. Maybe you're not lazy. Maybe you're not losing yourself. Maybe you're simply been living on emotional fast food while your soul has been craving a home cooked meal. And and that is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So let's talk about some of the ways that we become underfed. And fair warning, beautiful soul, this part may sting a little. Not because I'm judging you, because I've lived it too. We feed everyone else first. We make sure the kids are okay, the spouse is okay, the coworkers are okay, the neighbors are okay, the dog is okay. Everybody is okay, except the woman holding the whole thing together. And somewhere we wear that like a badge of honor. I'm just so busy. Everyone needs me. I don't have time. Meanwhile, the woman saying those words hasn't done something purely for herself in months and maybe years. Somewhere along the way, many of us were taught that self-sacrifice was the highest form of love. Not if everyone else was happy and comfortable, then we were doing life right. But here's my loving reality check. You are not a candle that was put on this earth to burn yourself completely out so everyone else can see. You are not a candle that was put on this earth to burn yourself completely out so everyone else can see. You matter. Your needs matter. Your dreams matter. Your joy matters. And if the only person constantly going without is you, eventually the bill comes due. It usually arrives in the form of exhaustion, resentment, burnout, frustration, and that nagging feeling that you've lost yourself. We consume, but we don't nourish. Now let's talk about what we're feeding ourselves. Because just because something fills your time doesn't mean it feeds your soul. Scrolling isn't nourishing. Worrying is not nourishing. People pleasing isn't nourishing. Overworking isn't nourishing. Mindlessly binge watching television until midnight is not nourishing. Constantly comparing yourself to women on social media isn't nourishing. Those things may distract you. They may occupy you. They may even temporarily comfort you, but they don't actually feed you. It's like eating cotton candy all day and wondering why you have no energy. It looks like food, it feels like food, but there's no substance there. And I think a lot of us may have been living on emotional junk food, like we're consuming information all day long. Advice, opinions, drama, bad news, more bad news, and then a little extra bad news just to top it off. No wonder our nervous systems are waving a white flag. No wonder we feel depleted. We've been feeding our minds everything except peace. We stopped expressing who we really are. And this one might hit the hardest of all. Little by little, we stop expressing ourselves. We stop singing. We stop dancing. Stopped creating. Stop dreaming. Stop laughing until our stomachs hurt. We stop trying new things. We stop saying what we really think. We stop being delightful, unapologetically ourselves. And here's the scary part. Most women don't even notice when it happens because it doesn't happen at once. It happens one small comparison at a time, one postponed dream, one swallowed opinion, one ignored desire, one maybe later, one, well, that's silly, one, I don't have time. And until one day you wake up and think, where did I go? And the answer is, you didn't go anywhere. You've been there the whole time, waiting, waiting underneath the responsibilities, waiting underneath the roles, waiting underneath the expectations, waiting for someone to remember you. Because the truth is, we don't become disconnected from ourselves because we disappear. We become disconnected because we stop feeding the parts of us that makes us feel alive. And when we stop feeding those parts long enough, life starts feeling like less like living and more like surviving. That's why this conversation today matters. Because you're not empty. You're underfed. And there's a big difference between the two. Here's where everything begins to shift. Because after everything we've just talked about so far, it would be easy to walk away thinking, okay, Cindy, I hear you. I'm exhausted. I'm depleted. I'm underfed. Now what? Well, my friend, here's where the magic happens. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Start asking, what am I hungry for? That one question changes everything. Because when we ask what's wrong with us, we're assuming we're broken. We're assuming we're the problem. We're assuming something needs to be fixed. But what if you're not broken? What if you're simply hungry? Think about it. When your stomach growls, you don't make it mean like you're a failure. You don't sit there and say, well, look at me. I can't believe I'm hungry again. What's wrong with me? No, you recognize it as information. Your body's communicating a need. That's all. And your soul works the exact same way. Maybe you're hungry for connection, not another Facebook friend, not another text message, real connection. The kind where you can exhale and be fully yourself. Maybe you're hungry for rest, not just sleep, rest. The kind where you stop carrying the weight of the entire world for 5 minutes. Maybe you're not hungry for adventure. Maybe you are hungry for adventure. Absolutely, you're hungry for adventure. Maybe there's a part of you that wants to explore, learn, travel, create, or try something new. Maybe you've become so responsible that you've forgotten how to be curious. Maybe you're hungry for purpose, not productivity, purpose. Those are two different things. One fills your calendar. The other fills your soul. Maybe you're hungry for peace. And if we can be honest, maybe peace isn't missing. Maybe it's just being drowned out by all the noise, the endless notifications, the endless obligations, the endless pressure to do more, be more, achieve more. And maybe, just maybe, you're hungry to be seen. Not for what you do, not for what you give, not for how much you accomplish, but for who you are. The soul sends signals just like the body does. When your body's hungry, it speaks. When your spirit hungry, it speaks too. The problem is that we've been we become experts at ignoring it. You know, we hear the whisper and keep scrolling. We'll hear the whisper and stay busy. We'll hear the whisper and volunteer for one more thing. We hear the whisper and we clean the kitchen. We hear the whisper and answer another email. We hear the whisper and say, I'll deal with it later. Sound familiar? The problem is later keeps becoming next week, next month, next year, someday, and someday never arrives. So can I give you a little Sailor sauce right now? Your soul has heard later so many times it probably rolls its eyes when you say it. Because if we're honest, some of us have been putting ourselves on the waiting list for years. We'll take care of ourselves after everyone else is okay. We will pursue our dreams after the schedule calms down. We'll make time for joy after the work is done. We'll rest after we earn it. And somehow the finish line keeps moving. The good news, you don't have to wait. You don't need permission. You don't need a crisis. You don't need burnout. You don't need another year of feeling disconnected from yourself. You simply need to start listening, because the whisper isn't trying to make your life harder. It's trying to guide you back home to yourself. And the moment you stop asking, what's wrong with me? And start asking, what am I hungry for? You start treating yourself, you're going to stop treating yourself like a problem to solve and start treating yourself like a person to nourish. And that, beautiful soul, is where the healing begins. So let me tell you something that I've learned. When life feels heavy, my first instinct used to be push harder, work harder, do more, fix more, accomplish more, become more efficient, make another list, check another box. Because somewhere along the way, I bought into the idea that if I could get enough done, I'd finally feel better. Anybody else out there? I thought relief was hiding on the other side of achievement. That peace was waiting for me at the finish line. That joy would arrive after I earned it. But eventually I realized that something completely changed the way I look at life. The answer wasn't more effort. The answer was more nourishment. Sometimes what I needed wasn't productivity. It was a walk, a conversation, a prayer, a sunset, a good laugh, a quiet moment with my journal, a chance to hear my own thoughts again, a chance to hear my own heart again. Because if we're honest, many of us have become so busy managing life that we stop living it. We're surviving, we're functioning, we're checking boxes, we're showing up, but we're not actually being nourished. And there's a difference, a big difference. And here's the reality check. Many of us are trying to solve our soul hunger with achievement. We think, when I finish this project, when I lose the weight, when I get the promotion, when I retire, when I make more money, when life settles down, then I'll feel better. Then I'll rest. Then I'll take care of myself. And then I'll be happy. And can I lovingly tell you something? Life has been settling down next month for maybe about 20 years now. And somehow next month, it never arrives. Because every season brings a new challenge, a new responsibility, a new demand, a new reason to postpone yourself. And if you keep waiting for the perfect time to nourish yourself, you'll spend your entire life standing in line waiting for your turn. The truth is, the perfect time isn't coming. The invitation's now. not when everything's fixed, not when everyone else is happy, not when the house is clean, not when your inbox is empty. Now, right now, because nourishment isn't a reward for getting everything done. Nourishment is what helps you do life in the first place. Nourishment is what helps you do life in the first place. We have it backwards. We think self-care is a dessert. It's not. It's the vegetables, it's the water, it's the oxygen, it's the thing that keeps everything else alive. And here's where I think many women get stuck. We're willing to give nourishment. We're just not willing to receive it. Or we'll encourage everyone else to take a break. We'll tell our friends to rest. We'll tell our daughters or family members to take care of themselves. We'll tell our coworkers not to burn out. But when it comes to us, we suddenly become the exception to the rule. We tell ourselves, I'll be fine. I can handle it. I just need to push through. And maybe you can, and maybe you have been. But at what cost? Because eventually the soul starts sending strong signals: exhaustion, resentment, irritability, numbness. That feeling that you're moving through life on autopilot, not because you're weak, not because you're failing, but because something inside of you is asking to be fed. And maybe, just maybe, what you're craving has nothing to do with accomplishment. Maybe you simply hungry for yourself. I want you to sit with that for a minute. Maybe you're hungry for yourself, hungry to reconnect with the woman underneath all the responsibilities, the woman underneath the titles, the woman underneath the expectations, the woman underneath the caregiving, the woman underneath all the roles you play for everyone else. Because before you were somebody's wife, mother, employee, caretaker, you were you. A beautiful, unique soul with dreams, desires, and gifts and passions. And she's still there. She didn't disappear. She didn't leave. She's been patiently waiting for you to come back. The woman who still has dreams, still has wisdom, still has joy, still has a voice, still has purpose, still matters. And here's what I know for sure. The world does not need another exhausted woman proving her worth through sacrifice. The world needs nourished women. Women who are connected to themselves. Excuse me. The world needs nourished women. Women who are connected to themselves. Women who know their value. Women who laugh. Women who rest. Women who create. Women who allow themselves to receive as much as they give. That's where our power lives. I often tell people, you teach others how to treat you by how you treat yourself. And if you constantly put yourself last, eventually your soul starts believing that's where it belongs. At the bottom of the list, after everybody else, after every obligation, after every emergency, after every demand. Yes, after every demand. The beautiful soul, that was never supposed to be your address. You were never meant to live at the bottom of your own priority list. You belong at your own table, not because you're selfish, because you're valuable. There's a difference. And when you begin nourishing yourself, really nourishing yourself, something remarkable happens. You don't become less generous. You become more genuine. You don't become less loving. You become more available. You don't become less compassionate. You become more whole. Because the most beautiful thing you can offer the world isn't an exhausted version of yourself. It's a nourished one. So if you've been waiting for permission to feed your heart, your joy, your spirit, your dreams, consider this your permission slip, signed, sealed, delivered, with a little sassy love from your dear friend Cindy here. Because you know what? You matter, and you are worthy of nourishment too. When you begin nourishing yourself differently, something beautiful happens. And no, your problems don't magically disappear. They won't happen to disappear overnight. The laundry still needs to be done. The bills, yeah, they're still going to show up. Life is still going to life, but something inside of you begins to change. You stop surviving and start living. You stop dragging yourself through life and begin engaging with it. You laugh more. You breathe deeper. You show up more fully. You remember who you are. Not because you became someone new, because you finally started feeding the person you already are. The woman who has been there all along, waiting patiently, waiting to be nourished, waiting to come alive. You see, I think a lot of women are walking around believing they've lost themselves. I hear it all the time. Cindy, I don't even know who I am anymore. And every time I hear that, my heart wants to say, oh, beautiful soul, you haven't lost yourself. And you know how I know? Because you're the one asking the question. The part of you that's longing for more, that's you. The part of you that's craving peace, that's you. The part of you that's hungry for joy, connection, purpose, and fulfillment, that's you. She hasn't disappeared. She's been sending smoke signals for years. You've just been busy putting out everyone else's fires. And the moment you begin nourishing yourself, she starts showing up again. Maybe it starts small. You take a walk and actually notice the flowers. You laugh so hard you snort a little. Any snorters out there? I am. You sit quietly with your coffee instead of rushing through your morning. You say no without explaining yourself for 20 minutes. So actually, let's talk about that one for a second. Because some of us like to write a 5-paragraph essay every time we say no. And no is a complete sentence, my dear friend. And that right there, that's free nourishment. Right there, no, that's free nourishment. And seriously, the transformation isn't usually dramatic. It's subtle, it's sacred. It's 1,000 tiny moments where you begin choosing yourself again, not over others, alongside others. That's an important distinction because this isn't about becoming selfish. It's about becoming whole. It's about recognizing that your needs matter too. Your joy matters. Your dreams matter. Your peace matters. And here's what happens when you begin living from a nourished place. You stop giving from obligation and start giving from overflow. That's completely different energy. When you're underfed, everything feels heavy. Every request feels like one more thing. Every responsibility feels overwhelming. Every interruption feels irritating. But when you're nourished, you have something to give because you're actually been receiving. Your kindness becomes more genuine. Your patience becomes more available. Your compassion becomes more natural, not because you're trying hard, because you're healthier. That's the difference. And here's my favorite part. You stop looking outside yourself for proof that you're okay. You stop needing everyone else's approval. You stop chasing validation like it's oxygen because you're finally started giving yourself what you've been asking the world to provide. You start trusting yourself, listening to yourself, honoring yourself, and that changes everything. You begin to realize that nourishment isn't something that you earn, it's something you deserve. Not because you accomplished enough, not because you checked every box, not because everybody else is happy, simply because you're human, simply because you're here, simply because you matter. And when that shift happens, life feels different. It's not perfect, it's different. It's lighter, softer, more joyful, more aligned, more alive. You stop waiting for someday to start living. You stop waiting for permission to be happy. You stop waiting until everything is fixed to enjoy life because you finally understand something powerful. The life you've been waiting to feel is available right here, right now. The moment you begin nourishing the parts of yourself that have been hungry for far too long, because the truth is, beautiful soul, you're not broken. You were never empty. You were underfed. You're simply underfed. So the moment you begin nourishing the parts of yourself that have been hungry for far too long, you're going to be nourished. And now you're finally going to be coming home to yourself. And now, before we rush into another task this week, I want you to pause just for a moment. I want you to pause, take a breath, put down that to-do list, step away from the endless responsibilities for maybe 60 seconds, and ask yourself, what do I need right now? Not what everyone else needs, not what your family needs, not what your coworkers need, not what social media says you should be doing, not what the world expects. What do you need? And before you dismiss the question, before you brush it aside, say, oh, I'll figure that out later. No. Remember what we've talked about all day. Remember, later has been stealing enough of your life already. Maybe what you need is rest. Maybe what you need is laughter, a walk. Maybe you need is a conversation with a good friend. Maybe you need is a 5 minutes of silence. Maybe you need permission to stop carrying things that were never yours to carry. Maybe what you need is to finally put yourself somewhere on your own priority list. Yes, not at the top, not above everyone else, but certainly not at the bottom anymore. And here's what I want you to remember this week. Nourishment doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't require a weekend retreat, but those are nice. It doesn't require a perfectly color-coded self-care routine. And it definitely doesn't require permission from everybody else. Sometimes nourishment looks like saying no, or taking a nap, or laughing until your stomach hurts. Sometimes nourishment looks like turning off the noise long enough to hear your own heart again. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is paying attention. Listen to the whispers before they become screams. Honoring your needs before exhaustion makes the decision for you. Choosing yourself before resentment shows up at the door asking you for a seat at the table. Because, beautiful soul, you deserve more than survival. You deserve joy, peace, connection. You deserve a life that feels as good on the inside as it does on the outside. And most importantly, you deserve to experience the gift of being fully alive. Because you're not empty. You're not broken. You're not failing. You're not losing yourself. You're underfed. And it's time to start nourishing the remarkable woman that you've always been. The woman with the beautiful heart, the woman with the resilient spirit, the woman with the dreams that you are still waiting, the woman who has spent years showing up for everyone else. Now it's time to show up for you, her too. So this week, beautiful soul, feed your joy, feed your peace, feed your spirit, feed your dreams, feed the parts of you that make you feel alive, and watch what begins to bloom. Be kind to yourself. Be good to yourself. Be patient with yourself. And remember, you might just be underfed. And never forget, you matter. And that, my friend, hello, is our episode on You're Not Empty, You're Underfed. Thanks for tuning in, beautiful soul. Take this week to listen to the whispers and remember your soul knows the way. And as you move through your week, carry this truth in your heart. You are worthy, you are radiant, and your presence matters. And never forget, stay soulful, stay sassy, stay you. I'll see you next Saturday, beautiful soul. Same time, same vibe, same glorious energy.